Happy Thursday, everyone. It's good to have everybody back. I am Scott Gordon, SVP of Global Delivery here at Vaco, and this is the final LinkedIn Live of Hot Job Summer. But don't worry, because we're coming back in October, and I was just talking to a few other people, and I said, what are we going to call that one if we've coined this one Hot Job Summer? So the next one is going to be Fall into the Right Career. So I hope everybody can join us then. So as for today, I'm talking with Dan Thompson. Dan is the Senior Managing Director in Technology for our Tampa, Florida office. Dan, good morning. How are you? And tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Good, man. Scott, it's great to see you. It's been a while. My name's Dan Thompson. I'm Managing Director here of our technology practice at Vaco. Just celebrated my 8-year anniversary last month. So it's been an awesome ride. Outside of that, I enjoy country music, golf, and a nice fine white wine, Scott.
Fantastic. Very nice. Very nice. So tell me, and a lot of the times we've done these, and I've done them with other Vaco folks all across the country, have not hit the central coast portion of Florida, if you will. So Dan, if you don't mind, tell me, what does that look like for you right now from a technology perspective? And can you talk about some trends that you're seeing in and around the Tampa, St. Pete area? And are you seeing things that you consider different than any other part of the country regarding technology, or you feel like you guys are sharing some of the same struggles, if you will, from a hiring perspective?
That's a great question, Scott. Tampa's been booming really over the last 10 or so years. Tampa's really invested a lot in talent attraction, company attraction. Forbes ranked us as one of the most innovative cities in America recently. Our housing prices are through the roof. All the economic data is showing that Tampa's booming downtown, and that area is exploding. Tampa's lucky that it has the Tampa Bay area, which consists of Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota. So you have a lot of different metro markets kind of merging together. But I'll be honest, it took Tampa a long time to get on the forefront of technology. A lot of companies would come to Tampa and it would be back office type of work or to save money from other major metropolitan cities. But really over the last probably 5-8 years, Tampa's really grown an ecosystem where they're not only attracting better tech talent and tech jobs, they're also creating an ecosystem where there's more startups and companies that are forming here. But I'll still say Tampa's a little bit behind, probably similar sized cities, your Charlottes, your Raleighs, your Nashville, Austin, Birmingham, because we just haven't invested as an ecosystem yet in true technology innovation. But I think it's coming. And I think that we're really starting to get on the forefront of that. And so a lot of the things that you guys were seeing in Nashville, maybe a year and a half ago now, are just starting to populate here. But I do see that trend increasing and speeding up here.
Good. That's good information. So there are, if we look at different cities around the country, you think about Los Angeles, and that's more entertainment, television, that sort of thing. Nashville, healthcare, Memphis, logistics, that sort of thing. What things are Tampa known for as far as industry is concerned? What's the number one, number two industries there?
I would say number one is probably health insurance, and a lot of health insurance types of jobs. WellCare's here. A couple other big health insurance providers are here. So software and SaaS products have formed from here. And then number two is, I would say, probably, I guess it would have to go back to kind of that back office or I guess probably back office types of roles. We have a lot of companies that try to assist in that, but probably those two areas. And then you have a tourism scene as well.
Gotcha. So when people come to Tampa, do you find that, and it's different again in a lot of different cities, where you have transient cities, what I call them, that not a lot of people are from that area. Do you find that more people are born and bred in Tampa, or do you have a lot of people moving to Tampa? And if they move to Tampa, are they moving, I would assume, for climate and beach and tourism and that sort of thing? Am I missing anything there?
No, a lot of Florida's pretty transient. I'm an 8th generation Floridian. So when I tell people that, they're flabbergasted by that, right? But, Florida as a whole is pretty transient, but Tampa itself has always had an ecosystem where a lot of people that are born here either continue to stay here or move maybe away to college and then do come
Yeah.
back. So
Yeah.
there is probably a bigger selection of people here that are born and raised here than maybe Orlando or some of the other areas that are around here. But yeah, a lot of people are moving here. We have a lot of folks in what we call the I-75 corridor. So a lot of people from Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, kind of a lot of the Midwest folks that move here. A lot of the Northeasterners that people associate with Florida usually head down to South Florida, but a lot of folks from that area. And then, Tampa's really done a great job of marketing itself, not only as Tampa Bay with a bunch of different sports teams that are doing well, but really marketing themselves as a place of business, but also a place of leisure and beaches and things of that nature.
Got it. Thank you. Let's switch to technology for a second and kind of what you're seeing. What are what are candidates looking for right now in the Tampa Bay area as far as the most important things to them? Would it be things like, higher salary, remote, culture, that sort of thing? And I recently put a poll on LinkedIn and had about 90,000 views and 1,500 votes on it, where I asked this same question. 52% said salary. Everything else was a mix. And I think the biggest mix for, and this was across the entire globe, but culture came in very important. What are you seeing specifically in Tampa?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Scott. And to kind of answer this question in kind of a multifaceted way, Tampa got really hit hard, not from a jobs perspective by COVID, but from a cultural perspective. Tampa's always been very much a place where we wanted you in the office, and we didn't really do a lot of remote work. And if we did, it certainly wasn't permanent remote work. And so that idea changed and shifted a lot of companies and required a lot of companies to adapt probably quicker than they wanted. So saw a lot of systems jobs, needed last year for virtualization and cloud and, desktop and, remote support, things of that nature. But still Tampa always prides itself on culture being number one. But unfortunately for a long time, they didn't value paying higher salaries, right? And they didn't value that remote work. So then when COVID happened, right, all of a sudden you have a bunch of companies that are saying, hey, we can now allow you to work remotely and we'll still pay you the same. Well, what was happening is Tampa was then starting to get attacked by San Francisco companies, Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, all of these companies that said, hey, we now have a completely remote workforce. There were areas that are underpaid. And so all of a sudden, Tampa developers that were maybe making $110,000 as a developer now have the opportunity to make $150,000 and work remote. Right. So that's changed a lot in terms of, how companies have to attract talent here now, where you can't just be this like incubator of like, hey, we're just going to keep all of our talent here. Now, not only do we have to compete with our local talent from non-local companies, if we want to bring in the best talent, then we need to be able to pay what other areas are paying as well.
How do you compete? I mean, with a local company that wants to pay sort of those local market rates, and it's a conversation we're having a lot more recently. That I sit in nowhere, Arkansas, and I've got a company out of San Francisco that wants to pay me San Francisco rates. What's the value to a local person staying local, and what's the obvious draw for them to work somewhere, remotely San Francisco to make gobs and gobs of money? Isn't that a double-edged sword?
Yeah, it sure is. I would say that for a lot of companies that when we talk to them and we work with them, they still believe in the premise that, we don't have a ton of huge companies here, right? We only have a couple of Fortune 500 companies here. Right. We've got a lot of mid-market companies, right? And so I think the selling point for a lot of them is, hey, instead of going to be one, cog in this very giant wheel, why don't you stay here? We'll increase your salary, increase the opportunity, whatever it might be, and have a bigger impact. And then, focus on developing the system and the ecosystem that you live in and the area that you live in, right? But that's certainly, required companies to adjust, right? For a very long time, wages were, I don't want to say that they were, suppressed, but they certainly, companies realized that they could pay somebody $80,000 when, similar markets were paying $120,000, right? So it's really forced companies to say, hey, not only, what can we do to pay our employees more, but what more can we do to give them maybe advocacy in the company, or maybe bring in new technology, or be open to some of the other things that companies are doing. But I mean, that's certainly a challenge that a lot of companies here are dealing with, and they're still dealing with it. And that's probably why we have, so many open jobs, across the Bay Area.
Yeah, I think that there's a beauty and a certain romance that's built into being a digital nomad, if you will. I've been reading articles about that living in one place but working all over the place. I think that is I can certainly romanticize that as well. But I think at the end of the day, having that local connection at the end of your job, at the end of your contract, it goes a long way because that gives you immediate name recognition in your
Yep.
own market. I'm not poo-pooing on the fact that you can work anywhere, but I think that's keeping a firm foothold in your own market from that perspective could definitely help.
And,
What
and
are,
I'll
Go
echo
ahead.
Scott. Let me just echo that real quick. I think when we talk to a lot of our clients too, they love seeing companies that they know and are familiar with, right? I mean,
Right.
if all your resume is companies that are not in the area, it's hard to give perspective maybe about what they're doing or be able to reach out and say, hey, I know Acme Widget Company that you worked with. I know what you were delivering. Hey, did you know Bill that used to work over there? Right. I think that,
Right.
our environment has always been this very kind of tight local market. But I would say this, I also think one of the selling points is because Tampa has been a little bit behind on some of the innovation and now it's really starting to creep up, is now it really, allows folks, instead of going to be the 37th Kubernetes engineer at some huge large company, hey, maybe this is something that we're really starting to invest in now. And you could be our first or second person. So, kind of your piece of the pie to be able to eat is a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks. What are the current hottest technologies? And I hate even using that term. I just might as well say ninja and rockstar while I'm at it. What kind of tech trends are you seeing? What are you seeing in Tampa?
Yeah, still a lot. For a long time, was seeing a lot on the system side. Like I said, we didn't have a lot of companies that really truly were enabled for a remote workforce. So that's dying down a little bit. We're starting to see a lot more. Obviously, Angular, TypeScript, React, all these different new kind of budding technologies on the development side. Obviously, companies are still investing a lot more in cloud and continuing to move there. DevOps is starting to still really bring its foothold. But to be honest with you, a lot of what I'm seeing is on the functional side too, right? We're seeing a lot in the world of product. We're seeing a lot in the world of, now we kind of know where we sit with COVID. Now we can start to invest a little bit more in new projects or new, architecture or rebuilding something new. So now a lot of companies are starting to hire a lot more functional people, and our uptick in functional roles compared to even a year ago is probably 125% greater.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Two questions. I'm an insert any skill set developer functional type of role. If you had three people that could go to work today, what would their skill sets? And you can go 3 to 5. What are those skill
Yeah.
sets? What are your hot? So you've got, and I know that you focus primarily on the sales side, working with our clients, working with your
Yeah.
clients there in Tampa Bay. Looking at all of the job orders. First of all, let me ask you this: how many open positions are just you yourself working on in your market right now? Just rough estimate.
My team has 118 job openings right now.
Okay, that's a ton. So to put it lightly, so let's say I've got three people. I'm a recruiter or I'm a candidate, and I've got three people that I need to put to work today. What are three immediate skill sets that you need today?
I would say any sort of functional role, anything related to cybersecurity, and anything related to cloud, and anything related to development.
Give me some examples, specifics on the functional.
So PMs, BAs, product managers, product owners, anybody that's related to agile development, anybody that's related to building and releasing agile related projects. Okay. We have not only probably 20 different openings, but we probably have 10 different clients that we can send you to that are always looking, where everybody's just in a cycle right now where they're trying to build and architect new things, where maybe they weren't last year because they were unsure of where they were going to be. Amazon, web services and Azure are huge here in Tampa. We don't do a lot in GCP, but AWS and Azure, if you're any sort of developer that has experience in that world, you can get a job. But I'll be honest with you, Scott, we don't have an area right now where there's not a need for Tampa area companies, whether it
Sure.
be from help desk all the way up to CIOs, and really everywhere in between.
Okay. All right. Good. When you said development,
Mhm.
are you across the board? Are you predominantly Microsoft or predominantly open source, or
Yeah.
what kind of town is Tampa Bay from a development?
Tampa's a Microsoft town. Tampa must have had some really
Okay.
good salespeople 40 years ago when
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
infiltrating this city. Probably 80% of the development jobs that we have are .NET, C Sharp, and then we also have probably 15% Java. We are not really an open source town. That's starting to change a
Okay.
little bit, but when it comes to open source development, your best opportunities probably don't exist here, unfortunately.
Okay. That's good to know. Are the majority of your roles that you're seeing right now, are they mostly contract? Are they contract to full time? Or are they mostly permanent?
This is the first time ever that I'll say it's probably a 50-50 split. I think a
Mm.
lot of companies are really trying to invest in permanent hires. Maybe they didn't do it last year. We saw a huge uptick in contract jobs last year. There's still the same number this year, but all of a sudden companies are saying, hey, we want to grab talent when we can. So this is the first time in my 9.5-year career that I've ever seen a really kind of a perfect balance here. But I'll be honest with you, the companies that historically only wanted to hire perm are now very open to contract, and vice
Right.
versa. Right now, it's, hey, we just need to get the best people in the door.
Looking at the types of positions that where you said functional and development and cyber, can you give me a breakdown as to what types of salaries you're seeing in those areas or salary ranges? What's out of the ballpark? If I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and I want to apply to a position in Tampa, the chance for me to be able to even get a look, because somebody from San Francisco applying to Tampa is going to be like night and day.
Yeah.
So give me some ranges there. What's gonna get me in the game?
Yeah, in the cloud game, probably anywhere from about 100 to 150,000, depending on skill
Okay.
set
Yeah.
development. Obviously, entry level from 65 all the way up to probably 130, 135. That's really our cap. I'll never forget. I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago that was looking to move here from New York, and he was making 225. And I said, I'm placing CIOs that are making less than that.
Sure.
And then in the cloud side, kind of the same as the security, anywhere from probably 110 to about 150. And then
Okay.
functional are going to probably go from about 80 to 120, 130, depending on skill set.
Okay. I'm a new graduate, just getting
Mhm.
into the market. Can you help me?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first time in my career in 9.5 years doing this, like I said, that companies are now reaching out and saying, hey, we'll take boot camp grads. We'll take right out of college. We'll take, individuals that are self-taught, that know what they're doing. There's such a drain on technology folks here that people are willing to give a shot to folks that they might not otherwise would have. Tampa has always been a market where it's been mid and senior level developers, and I've
Right.
been beating this drum for 8 years where it says, hey, we really need to create an environment where we allow folks that are just graduated, instead of leaving, University of Florida, Florida State, USF, UCF, and going to Atlanta or Nashville, that we need to create an opportunity for them to come here. And it took all the way up until COVID for them to say, hey, maybe there are some really smart graduates, or there's some
Right.
good boot camp students that are here. So we're starting to see a little bit more of that as well.
Okay. Good to know. What are your clients looking for aside from technical chops?
Mm.
What are some of the qualities that they look for in candidates there in Tampa Bay?
I'll say the number one thing, and this goes from whether you're just in a boot camp now or you've been a CIO for 20 years, the most important thing that I continuously hear is good, solid communication skills. That means written, that means spoken. They want you to be able to disseminate what they're telling you, but also be able to communicate what you know in a clear and concise manner. I think that it's something that often gets forgotten. You can be the world's best, insert programming language here developer in the world, but if you can't concisely break down what you're doing or how to communicate that to the business end of things, you're going to struggle. So communication is number one, and understanding of adaptability and change in technology, which is something that I think folks that get into technology know, but that's a big thing. Change management is a really tough concept. So being open to that is number two. And then number three is a willingness to learn. Tampa is changing. Our environments are changing. Our technology is changing in the world where, you can sit and do the same language here because you're coding an application that was built in the 1990s. That's changing. So there's a lot of things that are changing about the Tampa ecosystem that companies are now saying, hey, I really want you to be able to understand that we're changing, the environment's changing, and we need you to be open to do that as well.
Gotcha. And I think that you think that can get the communication piece is coachable. You either you have it or you don't have it, or and when do you make that suggestion? I would assume that you make it during the initial interview with when they come into the office. And I've always said that most of my friends are developers, and they just want to be put in a dark room and have pizza slid under the door at noon and be left alone. Do you? I guess you guys gauge that amount of interaction and then convey that to your client.
Yeah, I'll say, to answer your first question, is it coachable? I think it's coachable to an extent, and I don't want it to be misconstrued either. Not saying that you are. I don't need you to be the world's best public speaker. I don't need you to write the next great American novel. But what I need is, the ability for you to be able to know how to clearly and concisely, explain what you're doing, or be able to talk to somebody that doesn't know what you do on a daily basis. I always tell people, talk to me about your project as if you were talking to, insert relative here that's not in technology in 30 seconds, right? So how can you describe what you do without confusing people, right? Because at the end of the day, you can sit down and you can chat with your director of application development about, all, containerization and things of that nature. But if you're talking to somebody in the business and trying to build something for them, how can you describe what you do? So I think that some of that comes with practice. I think that a lot of that comes with just a willingness and openness to listen to other people and be able to answer their questions and listen more so than just speak. I think that's the most important part of communication. I definitely think that you can teach listening skills. And I have always found in this business that being open to my clients about, hey, my candidate is one that maybe talks a little bit longer, or, sometimes goes around the point before he jumps in, or she does, allows for a better understanding going into that interview. But I'll also give that feedback. Hey, you spoke for 9 minutes before I even asked you the second question. Make sure that you're letting the person that you're conversing with guide that conversation as well.
Good. I've got time for a couple more questions. So the next question is that if I'm a client, if I'm a company in Tampa Bay, what's the easiest way for me to entice a hotshot developer, functional, cyber, whatever you have? What do I need to do to entice new talent or entice the best talent?
Yeah, I would say number one is have them and have those that are at the top of their industry be involved in decisions about your company's movement in that technology. I think that a lot of times it comes down from, maybe a discussion or a sales meeting or something where it's like, hey, we're going to invest in this technology. And a lot of times we don't bring the parties that are going to be involved in that technology involved into that meeting. And it's, hey, we decided on this piece of technology. So I'd say, let's be open and have conversations about, which direction do we want to go to be able to support our business from a technology perspective, and hear each other out. I think that that's the most important thing that I'm hearing from candidates, is that a lot of times they feel like they get hired for a role, told that it's a super innovative role, and that they're going to be a big part in the discussion of, cybersecurity or cloud. Then all of a sudden they get into that role. It's like, well, hey, here's the new technology that you're going to work with. It's like, wait, why wasn't I involved in that discussion? What I found more than anything over code is that people want to be listened to and want to be heard. It doesn't mean that they need to have a blank check and autonomous decision-making over it all, but it means that they want to be open and they want to be heard. Second that I would say is, be flexible. Everybody's working from home now, or a lot of people are allowing that work from home. Be flexible and be understanding, and create an environment where you can have, whether it's a work from home, whether it's in an office, or whether it's a hybrid situation, have an environment where you can keep your company and your company's culture and the one that you hired, them into, keep it, available to them in all of those different types of settings. And then number three is, I would say, trust people. You're paying them, probably a considerably large salary. Trust that, they're making the best decisions. Trust that they're a professional. Micromanagement has become, a big topic of discussion, especially in work from home settings. Trust that those people that you're hiring and trust in those people that you're hiring to be able to, to be able to control their day as well.
Got it. Last question is from the audience. Do you have to have a background in technology to work in tech?
No, I don't think so. I read a study that they said that the fastest degree besides computer science growing in or outside of computer, let me rephrase it. The largest number of degrees outside of computer science or computer science related degrees is actually liberal arts. Going back to communication, written and verbal communication is really important. Being able to understand problem solving, puzzles, logic, things of that nature. So no, you absolutely don't. And outside of, being a hardcore programmer or being a network or systems engineer, we talked about all the different functional roles that make up. We talked about all the different business related roles that make up IT. So there's so many different facets and so many different areas of IT that aren't necessarily just working, with specific technology every day that are driving the technology ecosystem. Got it.
Would you consider yourself to be in technology?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm tangentially connected. I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, but
right.
I'm helping the technology of, departments of the clients that I work with drive forward. Yeah. So yeah, I tell people all the time that I work in technology.
What's your and you have your degree. What's your degree in?
I have a degree in economics and a degree in political science.
There you go. So it has nothing to do with technology. My degree,
not at all.
My degree is in psychology, which has nothing to do with technology. But I think being able to have this conversation is very valuable. Dan, thanks for your time today and providing all this insight. If I'm a client, if I'm a potential client, if I've got needs and I need to hire someone yesterday, or I'm a candidate and I want to move to Tampa, or I'm in Tampa, I just haven't let you know, how would I get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have a really easy email address. It's just dan@vaco.com. You can reach me there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of fun stuff as well if you don't want to email me. But dan@vaco.com is the easiest. I get in trouble all the time for looking at my phone after hours too. So you can reach me all the time.
Gotcha. Thank you again, Dan. Once again, we'll be back in October for our quote unquote fall into the right career. It's a LinkedIn Live series that'll carry some of the same ideas of Hot Job Summer, but focus more on recruiters that are hiring for in this last quarter of the year. Thank you all for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again all very soon. Thank you again, Dan.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.